Hello chess friends and welcome to another game analysis. Here we have a game from the round 3 between Tamir Nabaty and McShane. That game was open with the move d4, knight f6, knight f3, we have g6 with the idea to make a fianchetto, and after that knight d2 and bishop to g7, e4 and d6. This is the Pirc defense. After that, Tamir gives a check with the bishop from f1 to b5, so knight to c6, and we have a castle. Instead of the castle, if you think that white is able to play d5 and capture the piece, then let's see what will Luke play. He'll go with a6, attack the bishop, and if the pawn capture on c6, then black can capture on b5. Instead of that, if bishop goes to a4, then Luke will go with the b5, which will make the same thing. So white cannot capture on c6 because black will capture on a4. So after knight c6, white played castle, and we have bishop to d7. After that, queen to e2, supporting the bishop and the pawn on e4. We have a6 and bishop capture on c6, bishop capture c6, and then it is time to start a strong attack playing e5. Idea of the e5 is to attack the knight on f6 and threat to go with the pawn on e6, which will attack the pawn on f7. So knight to h5 was played. After that we have knight to b3, and then d capture e5, d capture e5, and bishop capture on f3. So queen capture on f3, and we can recognize that this knight on h5 is not very well, so he has no moves to go, and black decided to capture the pawn on e5, opening space for his knight. So right now his knight is able to go back on f6 or g7 if it's needed. So Tamir recognized that it's a good moment to include the rook in the game and move the rook from f1 to d1, attacking the queen on d8. And after queen goes to c8, we have rook to e1, attacking the bishop, and also threat to capture the pawn on e7 if black wants to make the castle later. So we have f6, defending the bishop on e5. After that, Tamir goes with the bishop from c1 to h6. His idea is to prevent black escape with the king, so he wants to control square f8 and block the castle idea. And after that, Luke goes with the queen from c8 to f5, offer queens for trade, but so queen capture on b7, attacks the rook, and we have rook goes to d8, and then queen gives a check on c8. That was a good moment for black to survive and move the king on f7, so that will create a pretty decent position, because after white gives a check on c4, he can block the check with the pawn on e6, and everything is fine in his structure, so he can include the knight in the game in the coming moves. Also, he can move the rook from h8 to e8 and create some kind of the castle after that, because king can go on g8 if he wants. So, but he didn't play that, and after the check on c6, queen goes to d7, blocks the check, and white captured the pawn on a6. We have g5, so that move g5 completely locks the bishop on square h6, and he has no moves to go. He's trapped, and Tamir decided to capture on a g5. So black cannot recapture on the square g5, because that will result with the rook capture e5 and a very strong attack on e7. So after bishop capture on g5, Luke played rook to g8, attacks the bishop, and also creating strong attack on the pawn on g2. So we have h4. After that, f capture on g5. So rook capture e5, and then g capture h4. So we have move queen to h6, which attacks the knight and also attacks the pawn here. So this knight cannot go on f6. Let's see if this knight goes on f6. It is important to recognize that black is pinned on e file, and white can easily capture the knight on f6. So after queen h6, he moves the knight on g7, and we have rook ae1 and king f7. That is an easy win for Tamir. He just gives a check to kick out the king from the f7, and when king goes to e8, he play queen to f6, threat mate here, and in this position, look, resign. So he could play a few more moves. He could try something like e6, but that will result with the bad things after knight comes in the game. So knight c5 attacks the queen, attacks the pawn, and that will completely crush the black structure. So after the move queen f6, in this position, look, resign, and he finished with the 2 points out of 3 rounds. So Tamir is now leader on the board. He scored 2.5 points from 3 rounds. We will see what will happen in the coming round. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next game analysis. Bye bye.